that's telling me that the black star made only a 3-degree move left in the orbit diagram, which I didn't really believe whenever it happened. I mean, how can this thing average 12-degree move left in the orbit diagram, left in the solar system, moving in prograde fashion, and then suddenly now only have a 3-degree move? And the explanation is going to be the binary star magnetic repulsion. The repulsion forces between the black star and the sun are growing, which means that the black star is in the transition in its orbit from the elliptical orbit path to the circular orbit path. It looks like that's the way that this thing is moving. And there's lots of new subscribers, and some of you are catching up on what's going on. You're going to want to read this article from the Canadian student that he has some understanding of the binary star magnetic repulsion forces that I'm talking about here. This is not a NASA paper. NASA hasn't caught up yet to what has been observed in these stars in this paper. And this is along the line. This is the anomalous activity of the black star, and this is the best explanation that we have today. The only 3 new volcanic eruptions. You see we had another one in Russia, and Central America now has become active again. And here we have a new volcanic eruption at the location of our Vanuatu quake at the near side alignment. Then, so with just 3, that's what we should see. 1, 2, 3, or 4 at outside orbit position. So that's where we're at. Expect these values to go up now. With more deeper quakes, larger quakes, you're going to get those magma plumes. I know a lot of the new subscribers haven't been exposed to what's going on with the rising magma plumes, and you're going to want to go into the newsletter, go back 2 or 3 volumes, and we have pictures of what's going on inside of Earth mantle and these rising magma plumes and how it's affecting the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. And it's how the earthquakes and the volcanism are now becoming more intertwined. They're being more and more connected. And whenever you look at the pattern, I explained it in the commentary here, then with these rising magma plumes, then you can see the reasons for Jade Helm 15, Cascadia rising exercises, the exercises in the New Madrid seismic zone, because just about everybody already realized the big one, quote unquote big one, from the New Yorker article 2015, just Google that, is coming. It's definitely coming. And it's going to come near the end of one of these earth change uptick periods, whether it'll be this one or the next one. I can't tell you how that's going to shake out, but we're going to continue monitoring everything and making these weekly reports, and everything is going to make more sense as you gain more information about what we're doing with Project Black Star. And before we go any further, make sure that you read the Dakota report. It was mentioned in the interview I had with Steve Olson yesterday, and he hadn't seen a lot of that information, and I think a lot of his subs haven't seen that information. But when you read through the operations section of the Dakota report, you'll see the connection between the 9/11 inside job and this investigation that's going on right now. Then looking at the magnetic North Pole, you'll notice from 8/16 of each year, you see the change in the angle here. See how we this upward move? We got this upward move. Let's go back to from the 16th to the 23rd previous year. You see this upward move. We're seeing the same kind of movement. And while I'm watching this 360 mark right here, we want to know the date that this passes by. Make that comparison to September the 8th of last year. Count the number of days. Then we'll see how that compares to what's happening in the seismic chart. Then I kind of let the cat out of the bag just a little bit. The interesting series of events took place this week when David sent me an email asking for a special video on an overview presentation on Project Black Star. And Steve watched that, and he mentions it in our interview, and very, very good interview. Maybe the best interview that I've been a part of, with very good questions. Steve and Wayne, really, really smart guys, asking really, really good questions, giving me time to respond, which you don't get in interviews sometimes, and very patient. And I can tell, I want to try to reassure some of my subscribers that are leery of moving towards a project that has so many lens flares and sun dogs and photographic anomalies and things like that. These guys have good hearts, and they are on the path. They are definitely on the right path, and they are getting a good science base now from which they can make their observations. They can, whenever they're looking at these images, then they're going to be giving us more information on what is the background constellation relative to the sun, for example. And with more information, then these guys are going to make leaps and bounds in their presentations. And I look forward to working with Steve and Wayne again very soon to to share more about Project Black Star and the importance of the related documentation like the Dakota Report and things like that. So I'm running way behind schedule today, way behind. Normally, I'm sitting in the radio chat room by 3 o'clock for the show that starts at 4. So I'm running way behind, and you're about to see why. This is by far the record-breaking week for support for the research, and by far, greatly. And my appreciation, my thanks go to Steve Olson again, and Wayne, and for David for helping all this come together. Christine and Bonnie and Sandy and a lot of others, regular subscribers, they've been pushing me in this direction because they feel like there's a good vibe coming from over there, and they turned out to be right. So it's taken some time, and this week is a transition week. It's transition week for the Black Star. We're the Earth. We're at outside orbit position, and I'll show you on solar system scope that we used a little bit yesterday during the presentation. So the Black Star is going to be in this area, in the Libra constellation. It could be further right in the orbit diagram. I'm still trying to, it's just about in this location right here. So whenever you look down on the sun, you can see that Earth is right at this 90-degree triangle mark. And this is very key. There's also an outside orbit position on the far side, the winter side of the solar system. And that's when we start the new orbit cycles, and we know what this is. And Steve asked some good questions on this. Those questions and my answers are included in my article that's below the update report. Make sure that you go down and read David's information and Steve's information, our questions and answers, because it's going to help fill in a lot of the blanks about what's going on. This outside orbit position, very key, because Earth passed between the two stars back here in April when we had all this activity. Now we've been moving away from the Black Star, reaching this magical outside orbit position. That's when we get those sub 200 values for the 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes, usually the sub 20 values for the 5s. But because of this new rash of 7s that's coming out, and the foreshocks and aftershocks, the 5 value is almost double what it should be. And I'm, again, a little bit surprised about the 199, 2.5 to 4 magnitude, but that's where we're supposed to be. That's what was predicted at outside orbit position, and that's where we're supposed to be. So now the Earth is moving this way on back orbit. We've been near orbit for 6 months. Now we're on back orbit for 6 months. The Earth is in the quadrant of space that the Black Star is traveling in. And pardon the interruption. And so since that's happening, the magnetic portal connection between the Earth and the Black Star is shortening through this period, and that's why we're seeing this increase in earthquakes that's going on. This uptick period is going to continue all the way around here until we pass behind the sun relative to the Black Star. And I'll have to talk to him later. And so the uptick period is going to run to about December the 1st. And large number of earthquakes, new volcanic eruptions happen in this part of the solar system, just like it does on this part of the solar system. They're usually not as intense as when we're moving directly towards the Black Star, but that's what the scenario is. That's what the pattern for the last, well, since the investigation started, that's the pattern. So let me get back over here. And project supporters for this week include, get ready for this. This is a long list. Patrice, Joseph, Edward, Benson, Drew, Carl, Diane, Kirsten, Justin, Chuck, Eleanor, Richie, Jack, Keith, Joy, Mary, Mitchell, Christine, Robert, Kristen, James, William, another James, Kelly, Edward, Roseanne, Karen, Dawn, and David. And that should include DJ. DJ just wrote in, and I'll try to get that ad in there for you, DJ. I appreciate your support very, very much. And you guys have full subscriber benefits for the life of your subscriptions. Then Thomas, Michael, Richard, and Lori renewed their subscriptions for previous years with Randy, Kristen, DJ got mentioned this part, and Lori making donations to the research. By far, record-breaking week. And I want to thank, just like in this update, Steve Olson and everyone supporting the research for making the investigation possible. You guys are the blood of the research, really. And not only do I appreciate your support, but your questions and your comments, just like David, just like Sandy. You guys sending in these questions and directing me to do the research and answering your questions. That's how you guys have the power to control the narrative. You really do. You have more power than you realize to control what's going on in the Project Black Star investigation by directing questions on specific topics that lead me into those areas for discovery, so that we can share more and more of the information. So the more people we have supporting the investigation and writing me back and forth, that's more eyes we have scanning the internet, looking for the anomalies. It's really what I'm interested in the most. Strange things happening with Jupiter, strange things happening with Mars. The strange stuff is likely black star related, because that's the change. The Earth change, the changes in Jupiter, the changes in the solar system. That's the changes that to me represent the birth pangs from 1 Thessalonians 5, starting in verse 1. And I appreciate Steve very much leading me questions and asking about The Mystery Explained, my book, about the website, the different sections, scripture section, 9/11 section, and helping his subscribers to get a hold of what we're trying to share at terralo3.com, get a handle on it. Really, really appreciate that. Here's some free links here for people that are not subscribers. I like to share those whenever possible. Remember, you can share these links with anybody you wish. As a subscriber, as a YouTuber, as somebody that just comes across the information, share the links with the information. I want to get the information to as many people as possible. And then those that want my personal time, those that want to write and questions and talk on Skype and my personal time, those are the newsletter subscribers. That's whenever it's time to pull the trigger and become a newsletter subscriber. So these are the questions. How can you be so sure of the location of the black star? Why would the dark star cause the sun to turn dark? Very, very good questions. Then so you guys can read my commentary. I give diagrams, and then we get down here. These are reversed kind of, but the Steve Olson interview really took the top spot in the featured section. But kind of what led to that was Steve and seeing this other video that David's request. You guys can watch the video, and that he plans to use to help others. You guys can do the same thing. Share the video, and I'll try to get back over there and put some free links down there to previous newsletters so that we can get more and more people interested. Here's information from that May sent in on grand solar minimum. A lot of people believe that we're moving into an ice age. They're watching the sun, but we're not. The black star is influencing, pardon me, I'm losing my voice. Pardon me. The black star is influencing the sun, diminishing its power, but redirecting that energy. Pardon me, I had to stop and get a drink of water and call my buddy. Stop him from blowing up my phone during my video. Okay, what I was getting at was a lot of scientists are on this. We're moving into an ice age thing because they're watching the sun. What they need to look at is the global temperatures. Since 1998, we've had the top 10 hottest years in recorded history. 2016, the hottest, surpassing 2015. That surpassed 2014. 2017 will be the hottest year on record. Earth core is heating up. These magma plumes are rising, bringing heat from inside the Earth to the crust. Earth is heating from the inside. The global temperatures, the ocean conveyor is already broken. The hot water trapped at the equator cannot make it underneath the jet stream to the cooler regions. That's why you're seeing this strange polar vortex phenomenon working both ways, sending cold air south and sending warm air north. The Earth is attempting to maintain equilibrium. It's trying to, the best that it can. And my view, HAARP, the Tesla Technologies, weather modification stuff, is being used by the elite to help the Earth look more normal, because they don't want you to wake up about what's coming from space. That's kind of the idea. So she's going to make the case up here, which there's a lot of information. And then my reply is going to be down here using charts showing you how, look at the difference between solar cycle 24. This is the radio flux progression. Look how high it is for solar cycle 23 and how diminished it is for solar cycle 24. You're looking at values that are between a third and a half of what they should be. Solar output greatly diminished. Sunspot values greatly diminished. They follow one another. So looking at this, you would think that we're in a Maunder minimum or something, some grand minimum. But that's not what's happening at all. Black star siphons off the energy and then redirects it through the secondary set of magnetic portal connections, so the Earth gets warmer and warmer because it's getting closer and closer to the Earth. Same thing with Jupiter. It's based on near black star planet proximity. When you realize that, then you can start looking at the planets nearest, that's especially the ones in the same quadrant with the black star, like Jupiter and Mars and Saturn right now, and you can see how they're being affected by that. A planet on the far side of the solar system, the magnetic portal connection between that planet and the black star is going to be longer. That means a lower percentage of active internal conduits, and I get into that in my commentary with Steve. And then that means that the potential for injecting electromagnetism into that planet is diminished because of the great distance. So some of the planets are going to be heating up. Some scientists believe all the planets are heating up. My view, the ones that are in near proximity are heating up more rapidly than those that are at some distance away. Then another one that I wanted to share with you guys is the black star modeling recommendations. And this is a very good example. David and Sandy, very, very good. Then you're sending these questions. You send a little bit of information about the radial velocity, the Doppler method, and then you give me this opportunity and give you a GIF to watch right here so that you can realize that we're dealing with an object, an anomalous object that behaves more like a black hole than a celestial object. And most people in their thinking, they're trying to incorporate attributes of regular planets, regular main sequence stars or planets to the black star as if it has a regularly shaped gravity well, and it just doesn't. This thing has an extremely deep gravity well and has an event horizon. Things on the outside affected very little, things on the inside affected greatly. But the diameter of the black star is likely only 3 to 5 kilometers in diameter. This event horizon is not, the reach of it is not going to be very, very far away. And a lot of people are asking about orbitals and things like that. I just really do not have the data to be able to draw conclusions like that. And in this type of investigation, you really want to be slow to draw your conclusions, gather a lot of evidence, ponder everything, take your time, and then draw your conclusions to avoid making the larger mistakes. Part of which can discourage people from your research whenever you jump out on limbs and things like that. So I'm going to be slow in drawing conclusions. There's no evidence that I see at all that there are orbitals. Yes, there's some of that in the old Sumerian tablets, and there's some historical evidence of that. I have to admit that there is, but I do not have that science to be able to share with you right now. It could very well be some of the objects that Steve and Wayne are seeing on their WSO project are associated with the black star. It's possible, and they're already sending me images. But before you can begin giving critical analysis of that type of imagery, you really need a lot of background baseline information. That is going to take time. And as I get more information, I may be sending more of that to Don, our project astronomer, and I already sent him information from Steve and those guys. They seem to have heard that Mars is out of position, and I'm not going to buy that. I think Mars is precisely where it's supposed to be. The reason is because the event horizon and the way that the black star interacts with objects that are even in near proximity, it's not going to affect them very much gravitationally. It is going to affect them magnetically. The difference from Mars is it doesn't have a robust magnetosphere like Earth, Saturn, and Jupiter. So Mars is a good, like for the dust storms and things like that, whenever Earth magnetosphere turns around and Mars is right there, you're going to see dust storm formation like we did in 2012, again here in April. So Mars is a good witness for some things. Jupiter is a great witness for other things. And as far as orbitals go, like I said, there's just not the information there. Then World War III or Nibiru disclosure. And then Steve Olson wrote Sandy. And with this information, along with the continuity of government leaks and the martial law leaks, and now the Merkel announcement, I'm getting more concerned that we're looking at major chaos. Then they want, that's what Steve wrote, and he wants to have my reply. And you're going to get a geopolitical analysis briefing right here that is very important. There's so much happening this week that is buried on page 16 already. This is the longest featured section that we've had to date for the newsletters because so many questions came in requiring a lot of commentary. And the difference between a featured article and a top story in this newsletter is whenever the commentary. If there's a lot of explanation and commentary, that's going to be featured. And a story, just a story, there are just stories that make it into the featured, like this one right here. The Zika panic. This is pretty important because I think that it's connected to a binary weapon, brain-damaging binary weapon. Think H1N1. Think about the binary weapon, how artificial intelligence works to combine the amino acids. This may be what's going on here, and I expect the contagion to be released in combination with limiting your mobility as the elite are getting ready to run to the underground arc city 60 to 90 days before the actual geological pole shift. I'm expecting something like that, so even without commentary, this type of story gets put up into the featured section. Then this report's just going to be a little shorter than the others. That 40 minutes, I'm not going to be able to make it to that. Looking at preparations, running out of time, basically. Something big is coming. Governments warn people to prepare. It's not just the Russians anymore. Lots of people are realizing that tipping points are being passed, and they're seeing chaos coming. If the House of Rothschild were not supporting the entire global market, the entire global economy, the silver short position by Bear Stearns, if they weren't supporting all of that just by printing paper, we would have already collapsed. But the House of Rothschild owns the Underground Arc City network. That's what they're defending as they're propping up silver, as they're propping up lower gas prices to keep you guys on the channel changer with a beer in one hand, not thinking about all the changes that are taking place all around us, about what's coming from space. So there is a lot of geopolitical information in this newsletter and a lot of survival. See, this is a survival topic up here in the featured section because you know what? We are getting closer to whenever this type of information you're going to need. I really recommend that you download all these newsletters. That's why you see them in full form instead of just a link, instead of just a few words and say, go see the rest here. Because when the crap hits the fan, there's no power. You're going to want access to information that you can use. And that's what's in these newsletters all the way from the beginning, back to 2012. And if you're new, you've never heard of Michael Owens, he was the chief astronomer for this research until he was murdered. Volume 9 comes to mind of 2012, all the way back in the beginning. Read it. He took over. This is a very brilliant man. Took over my desktop and showed me all of the fireballs and meteors coming out of the Leo constellation with his brand new program. This guy, highly educated astronomer. And he was writing the feature articles for this newsletter until his death. And go back to Volume 9, 2012, and you'll be reading what our chief astronomer was writing back in 2012 about things that are still about to happen. It's pretty good stuff. Then you see all kinds of natural disaster stuff in here, and more people waking up. It's a little story about the how they're getting ready to hand off the internet to NATO, which I have kind of a difficult time believing something like that. Something like the internet can be controlled that way. The problem is the House of Rothschild, I really don't think that they want to do that. They use the internet to spread their disinformation. They use it to keep you focused on the narrative that they're controlling. Whenever you start limiting that, people are going to realize it's like the sheep going to slaughter and you're waking them up, you're rattling the cage. No, they want to keep you nice, calm, and tranquil all the way into the FEMA camp. That's their goal. They want to use the internet that way, and they want to make you feel that you have complete freedom whenever in reality you do not. Already you do not. So I don't know how much truth there is to that story. It could be disinformation. But it just came in and I haven't had time to analyze everything. When Rothschild's giving a warning, you very rarely hear about the House of Rothschild. Likely with disinformation embedded inside. That's when you hear George Soros, you hear Benjamin Fulford, who speaks for the Illuminati quite a bit. This is, whenever you hear these guys, they're trying to redirect attention. They're trying to manipulate the narrative. And they feel like that's slipping out of their hands. They come out with something like this. So information's here. And if you see something, read something, and you feel like that it needs more attention, you want to send me the email, quote, send the link, and then we can make that a feature article type of thing, for those that are new to the research. Tons and tons of information here, and it's great for somebody that's really too busy to keep up with everything all week long. That's what I do, sit here and take you guys from the contributors and subscribers, the articles that you feel are the most important. And so you're looking at what people that have already been part of Project Black Star, this is what they're looking at, and they feel that it deserves the attention. Eventually, you're going to get your legs under you, and you're going to have a better feel about what is helping people wake up and what is putting them to sleep. And then you'll be sending more and more information in, and the choice stuff will be posted like you see in the featured section above. Then I really need to cut this at about 30 minutes. Financial crisis. As long as you see silver below $20, which is just barely below now, the bottom was called at $13.50. Those that got in at $13.50, you look real smart right now. Eventually, when the crap hits the fan, power grids go down, silver eagle, silver maple, from Canadian maple, these things are going to be traded probably in the hundreds of dollars. So those of you that are getting 5 ounces of silver for $100 can see, I mean, this is great bartering. I do not recommend big old giant bars of silver or gold or anything like that. Small denomination for barter. Later in the timeline, the radio show I'm about to do, we posted right here for those new. These are old radio links from previous weeks. And obviously that link does not appear right here until after the radio show. So the best time to download this newsletter is after 6 p.m. on Thursday evening. The intention is to get you ready for the weekend so that you can go over this stuff and know what happened for the week. That's the idea. So this newsletter is uploaded 3 times. First, just to generate a link. Second, to make this presentation, and then the last time to get everything in there. Usually this video is completed and part of the second upload. It's just didn't have time to do that today. Those interested in more Bible information, there are links here to Royce's Bible interview that he had with me. And I did not get the permanent link in here yet for our show yesterday with Steve Olson, but that is going to be a permanent link, maybe right up here near the top, because that's with these other 3 radio interviews that I did with Bad Baby. This is a visual thing using this new program that Steve recommended. So it's visual. He asked me to get out Solar System Scope and show you stuff, and I can do that. So it looks like it's a good format. Steve told me that it's very secure, so I'm not going to even worry about that aspect of it. So again, thank you guys for your support. Hope everybody's name was in there. If your name wasn't mentioned, write me and I'll get you included as soon as possible. And new subscribers, Terralo3.com, that's the place to go. Lots of free stuff there. When you're ready to subscribe, then you'll see the button that's there. And with that, then that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. I do not think that I showed you the earthquake picture that's going on right now. This was the real shocker down here in this region, 7.4. And you see all that other activity. That's why you see the 5 magnitude earthquakes. That's why it's higher, much higher than expected, because of this single event that wasn't projected. And the fact that you don't see the 2.5 to 4s, there's none in there. You just don't see them. That's why we stayed at the sub 200 value for those. So I should have shown you this a little bit earlier. I'm actually in a big rush, and apologize for that. So thanks again to Steve and to David. You guys working together kind of motivated me this week, and it looks like that Project Black Star is getting a lot more attention. So I appreciate that very, very much, and I will be making mention of you guys again in the which I already did, because this video is going to be uploaded later. But I'm going to be making mention to you guys at the radio show over at Revolution Radio. Remember, you can go there, freedomslips.com, make yourself a username, and ask questions in caps for me during the 1 hour presentation. So thank you again, and I'll see you guys on the next Black Star Update report. And that's telling me that the Black Star made only a 3-degree move left in the orbit diagram, which I didn't really believe whenever it happened. I mean, how can this thing average 12-degree move left in the orbit diagram, left in the solar system, moving in prograde fashion, and then suddenly now only have a 3-degree move? And the explanation is going to be the binary star magnetic repulsion. The repulsion forces between the Black Star and the Sun are growing, which means that the Black Star is in the transition in its orbit from the elliptical orbit path to the circular orbit path. It looks like that's the way that this thing is moving. And there's lots of new subscribers, and some of you are catching up on what's going on. You're going to want to read this article from the Canadian student that he has some understanding of the binary star magnetic repulsion forces that I'm talking about here. This is not a NASA paper. NASA hasn't caught up yet to what has been observed in these stars in this paper. And this is along the line. This is the anomalous activity of the Black Star, and this is the best explanation that we have today. The only 3 new volcanic eruptions. You see we had another one in Russia, and Central America now has become active again. And here we have a new volcanic eruption at the location of our Vanuatu quake at the near side alignment. Then so which is 3, that's what we should see. 1, 2, 3, or 4 at outside orbit position. So that's where we're at. Expect these values to go up now. With more deeper quakes, larger quakes, you're going to get those magma plumes. I know a lot of the new subscribers haven't been exposed to what's going on with the rising magma plumes, and you're going to want to go into the newsletter, go back 2 or 3 volumes, and we have pictures of what's going on inside of Earth mantle and these rising magma plumes and how it's affecting the Pacific Ocean Ring of Fire. And it's how the earthquakes and the volcanism are now becoming more intertwined. They're being more and more connected. And whenever you look at the pattern, I explained it in the commentary here, then with these rising magma plumes, then you can see the reasons for Jade Helm 15, Cascadia rising exercises, the exercises in the New Madrid seismic zone, because just about everybody already realized the big one, quote unquote big one from the New Yorker article 2015, just Google that, is coming. It's definitely coming. And it's going to come near the end of one of these earth change uptick periods, whether it'll be this one or the next one. I can't tell you how that's going to shake out, but we're going to continue monitoring everything and making these weekly reports. And everything is going to make more sense as you gain more information about what we're doing with Project Black Star. And before we go any further, make sure that you read the Dakota report. It was mentioned in the interview I had with Steve Olson yesterday, and he hadn't seen a lot of that information, and I think a lot of his subs haven't seen that information. But when you read through the operations section of the Dakota report, you'll see the connection between the 9/11 inside job and this investigation that's going on right now. Then looking at the magnetic North Pole, you'll notice from 8/16 of each year, you see the change in the angle here. See how we this upward move? We got this upward move. Let's go back to from the 16th to the 23rd. Previous year, you see this upward move. We're seeing the same kind of movement. And while I'm watching this 360 mark right here, we want to know the date that this passes by, make that comparison to September the 8th of last year, count the number of days, then we'll see how that compares to what's happening in the seismic chart. Then I kind of let the cat out of the bag just a little bit. The interesting series of events took place this week when David sent me an email asking for a special video on an overview presentation on Project Black Star. And Steve watched that, and he mentions it in our interview, and very, very good interview, maybe the best interview that I've been a part of, with very good questions. Steve and Wayne, really, really smart guys,